For 35 years, I thought I knew what being a mother meant. I raised Thomas alone after his father walked out when he was just 2 years old. I can still remember that day like it was yesterday. I came home from my shift at the diner and found half the closet empty and a note on the kitchen table. He said he was not ready to be a father. Just like that, my world fell apart. Before I continue this story, please subscribe to the channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. Hit that like button if you think families should stick together and have regard for each other regardless of position or personality. But I had a son to raise, so I pushed my pain down deep and got to work. I took a job at the nursing home working night shifts, scrubbing floors and changing bed sheets. The work was hard and the pay was small, but it was enough. I bought Thomas new shoes for school when his old ones got holes. I packed his lunch every morning with little notes telling him I loved him. I missed sleep, but I never missed his soccer games. I sat in those cold metal bleachers every Saturday cheering louder than any other parent. When Thomas was 16, he came home one day and said, "Mom, I want to go to college." My heart swelled with pride, but also fear because I knew college cost money I did not have. But I told him we would make it work somehow. I took on extra shifts. I sold my car and took the bus. I ate less so he could eat more. And when that acceptance letter came from the university, I cried for 3 days straight because my boy was going to have opportunities one never had. College changed Thomas. He came home less and less. He made new friends who wore expensive clothes and talked about things I did not understand. But he still called me every Sunday and said, "I love you, Mom." That was enough for me. After graduation, Thomas got a job offer in Denver at some tech company. The name was so long and full of complicated words I could never remember it. He was excited, and I was happy for him, even though it meant he would be far away. We talked on the phone every week, and he told me about his new apartment and his coworkers and the mountains he could see from his office window. Then he met Sarah. He told me about her on one of our Sunday calls. "She works in marketing, Mom," he said. "She is smart and beautiful, and I think I am falling in love." I was thrilled. My son deserved to be happy. When he invited me to meet her 6 months later, I took time off work and flew to Denver. Sarah was everything Thomas said she was. Tall and blonde with a smile that showed perfect white teeth. But when she looked at me, something fell off. Her smile did not reach her eyes. They were cold and calculating, like she was measuring me up and finding me lacking. I told myself I was imagining things because mothers always worry too much. I wanted Thomas to be happy, so I pushed my doubts aside. They got engaged a year later and married 6 months after that. I flew out for the wedding, wearing the only nice dress I owned. It was navy blue and a little too tight, but it was the best I had. The wedding was beautiful and expensive. Everything was perfect, from the flowers to the cake to the string quartet that played during dinner. I felt out of place among all those fancy people, but I smiled and tried to fit in. During the reception, Sarah's mother came up to me. She was wearing diamonds and looked me up and down like I was dirt on her shoe. "So, you're Thomas's mother," she said. "He has done very well for himself." The way she said it made me feel small. Like I was not good enough for this world my son had entered. But I held my head high and said, "Yes, he has. I am very proud of him." After the wedding, things started to change. Thomas called less often. When we did talk, Sarah was always in the background making comments or telling him they had somewhere to be. Our conversations got shorter and more strained. I tried not to worry. I told myself he was just busy with his new life and his new wife. Then came my grandbabies, and everything changed again. Emma was born on a rainy Tuesday in April. Thomas called me at 6 in the morning, his voice shaking with excitement. "Mom, she is here," he said. Emma rose. "She is perfect." I booked a flight that same day. When I arrived at the hospital and saw that tiny baby girl with her scrunched up face and little fists, I fell in love all over again. This was my granddaughter. Part of my son. Part of me. I held her and whispered promises. "I will always be here for you," I told her. "I will love you forever." Sarah was tired and sore from the delivery. For the first time since I met her, the mask slipped, and I saw vulnerability. She looked at me and said, "I do not know what I am doing. I am scared." I sat beside her bed and held her hand. You will be a wonderful mother, I told her. And I am here to help. I stayed with them for 3 weeks. I cooked meals and did laundry and cleaned the house while Sarah recovered. I changed Emma's diapers at 2 in the morning and rocked her back to sleep singing the same lullabies my mother sang to me. Those were sweet days. Sarah seemed grateful, and Thomas was happy. I thought maybe we could be a real family. But slowly things started to shift. Sarah began making comments about how I did things wrong. The way I burped Emma was not right. The way I folded her clothes was not how she wanted it. The songs I sang were too old-fashioned. At first the comments were gentle suggestions. Then they got sharper, more critical, more frequent. I tried to adjust. I asked Sarah to show me how she wanted things done. But nothing I did was good enough. One day I was feeding Emma a bottle and Sarah snatched it away from me. "You are holding her wrong," she snapped. "You're going to give her gas." I stepped back shocked. I raised a child, Sarah. I know how to feed a baby. Her eyes went cold. That was a long time ago. Things are different now. Maybe you should go back home and let us figure this out on our own. I left the next day, even though Thomas asked me to stay. I could see the tension between him and Sarah, and I did not want to make it worse. On the plane ride home, I cried. I had done something wrong, but I did not know what. 3 years later, Michael was born. Another beautiful grandbaby with Thomas's dark eyes and smile. This time I was only invited to stay for 1 week. Sarah made sure I knew the rules. Do not wake the baby if he is sleeping. Do not give him a pacifier without asking. Do not question how we parent. I followed every rule. I walked on eggshells in that house trying not to upset anyone. Emma was 3 by then, and she remembered me from my previous visits. "Grandma," she would say, grabbing my hand. "Come play with me." We played dolls and read books and built towers with blocks. Those moments with her were precious. But every time Sarah walked into the room, Emma would stiffen and let go of my hand. Even at 3 years old, she could feel the tension. After that visit, I tried to stay connected. I called every week to talk to the kids. I sent them birthday presents and Christmas gifts. I flew out twice a year, always making sure to give them plenty of notice. But each visit felt more strained than the last. Sarah watched everything I did. She corrected me constantly. She made sure I knew this was her house, her children, her rules. And Thomas said nothing. He would give me apologetic looks, but he never stood up for me. Never told Sarah to back off. I started to realize he was afraid of her. Afraid of her anger. Afraid of her disapproval. My strong, independent son had become someone I did not recognize. Emma is 6 now with curly brown hair that bounces when she runs. She loves to draw and sing and make up stories. Little Michael just turned 3, and he is Thomas's smile and his love of trucks. He carries a little yellow dump truck everywhere he goes. These children are my heart. I would do anything for them. The last time I saw my grandchildren in person was 8 months ago. 8 whole months. It was Emma's 6th birthday party, and I had bought her a special doll she had been asking for. When I arrived, Sarah barely looked at me. The party was full of Emma's friends from school and their parents. I did not know anyone. I sat in the corner and watched my granddaughter blow out her candles surrounded by people who were not family. Emma came over to me with her new doll. "I love her, Grandma," she said, hugging me tight. "Thank you so much." Sarah appeared instantly and pulled Emma away. "Go play with your friend, sweetie," she said. "Grandma needs to leave soon anyway." Emma's face fell, but she obeyed without question. I stayed for 2 hours. Sarah made sure I knew I was not welcome. She did not offer me food. She did not include me in conversations. When I tried to help clean up, she told me she had it handled. I left feeling smaller than I had ever felt in my life. After that, the excuses started. I tried calling every week, but the calls got shorter and shorter. Emma would start telling me about school, about her new friend, about the book she was reading, and then Sarah would take the phone away. "It is bedtime, Emma," she would say, even though I could hear other children playing in the background. Michael would wave at the camera during video calls, his little face lighting up when he saw me. "Gamma," he would say, reaching for the screen. Then suddenly the connection would drop. "Call you back later," Sarah would text. But she never did. Thomas always had excuses. Work is crazy, Mom. We are just so busy. The kids have activities. Sarah's family is visiting. We will call you next week. But next week never came. 1 month turned into 2. 2 months turned into 4. Then 6. Then 8. I tried talking to Thomas directly. I sent him long texts asking if I had done something wrong. Was I too pushy? Did I offend Sarah somehow? Please just tell me what I did so I can fix it. His responses were short and vague. Nothing is wrong, Mom. We're just busy. Things will slow down soon. But they never did. I felt like I was losing my mind. At night, I would lie awake replaying every interaction with Sarah, trying to figure out what I had done to make her hate me so much. Was it something I said? Something I did? I could not find an answer. My friends tried to comfort me. Maybe they just need space, one said. Young families are so busy these days. Give it time, another said. They will come around. But deep down I knew something was very wrong. This was not about being busy. This was about being erased. I started having panic attacks. My heart would race and my hands would shake, and I could not catch my breath. I would see Emma's face in my mind reaching for me, calling for me, and then being pulled away. I would see Michael waving at the camera, his smile fading as the screen went dark. The pain was physical. It hurt to breathe. I lost weight because I could not eat. Food tasted like cardboard. I stopped sleeping more than a few hours a night. I would wake up at 3 in the morning with my heart pounding, thinking about my grandbabies. Were they okay? Did they remember me? Did they think I had abandoned them? The thought made me sick. My boss at the nursing home pulled me aside one day. Are you all right? She asked. You do not seem like yourself. I broke down, crying right there in the hallway. I told her everything. About Thomas and Sarah and the grandchildren I was not allowed to see. She hugged me and said, you need to fight for them. Do not give up. Those words stayed with me. Do not give up. I had spent 8 months being passive, accepting the excuses, trying to be understanding. But my heart was telling me something different. Something was very, very wrong, and I needed to act. After 6 months of excuses, something inside me broke. Not the loud breaking like glass hitting the floor, but the quiet kind like ice cracking on a lake. I could not sleep anymore. Every night I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Emma's laugh and Michael's tiny hands. A grandmother should not go 8 months without seeing her grandbabies. Something was very wrong. I did not tell anyone what I was planning. I just opened my laptop and bought a plane ticket to Denver. The flight left on a Thursday morning, and I would surprise them. Maybe I was being silly. Maybe Thomas would be happy to see me. Maybe Sarah would hug me and apologize for being so distant. I packed my small suitcase with gifts for the kids and told myself everything would be fine. The plane ride took 3 hours, but it felt like 3 days. My hands were shaking the whole time. The woman next to me asked if I was afraid of flying, and I said no, I am just excited to see my family. She smiled and said how lucky they were. I smiled back, but my stomach was doing flips. When the plane landed, I took a taxi straight to their house. It was a beautiful home in a quiet neighborhood with tall trees and perfect lawns. There was a swing set in the backyard that I had helped pay for last Christmas. My heart was beating so fast, I thought it might jump right out of my chest. I walked up to the front door and rang the bell. Inside, I could hear the television and Emma's voice saying something about cartoons. Footsteps came toward the door, and then it opened. Thomas stood there in sweatpants and an old college shirt. When he saw me, his face did not light up with surprise. It got hard like stone. Mom, what are you doing here? I came to visit, I said, trying to sound cheerful. I wanted to surprise you and the kids. I have missed you all so much. Who invited you? Those 3 words hit me like a punch to the stomach. I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. Behind Thomas, the first could see Sarah walking toward us with Michael on her hip. Her face was blank, but her eyes were sharp. Thomas, this is not a good time, Sarah said in that sweet fake voice she used. We were not expecting visitors. I am not a visitor, I finally managed to say. I am family. Thomas stepped forward, blocking the doorway completely. You cannot just show up without calling first, Mom. This is our house. We have rules. Rules. The word tasted bitter in my mouth. Since when do I need permission to visit my own son and grandchildren? Since you decided to boundary stomp, Sarah said from behind him. We have talked about this, Thomas. Your mother does not respect our privacy. I felt like I was falling through the floor. Boundaries stomp. Privacy. What was she talking about? I had always called before visiting. I had always asked permission. The only thing I was guilty of was loving my family too much. Emma appeared at the top of the stairs. Grandma, she called out, her face breaking into a huge smile. You came to see me. Sarah moved fast. She grabbed Emma's hand and pulled her back. Emma, honey, Grandma cannot stay right now. We have plans. The little girl's face crumpled and my heart broke into a million pieces. But I want to show her my new drawings, Emma said, starting to cry. Later, baby, Sarah said, dragging her toward the hallway. Say goodbye to Grandma. Goodbye, Grandma, Emma whispered, and then she was gone. I looked at my son standing in that doorway like a stranger. Thomas, please, I said, my voice cracking. Just let me come in for a few minutes. I flew all the way here. I just want to see the kids. You should have called first, he said. His voice was flat and cold, like he was reading from a script. Sarah and I have worked hard to establish boundaries, and you keep crossing them. What boundaries? I asked. When did I ever cross anything? Every time you criticize how we parent, Sarah shouted from somewhere inside the house. Every time you undermine our decisions. Every time you act like you know better than us. I have never criticized you, I said, my voice rising. I have only tried to help. That is the problem, Thomas said. We do not need your help. We need you to respect our choices and give us space. 8 months is not space, I said. 8 months is abandonment. His jaw tightened. This is why we cannot have you here. You are always so dramatic. Always playing the victim. The words cut deeper than any knife could. I stared at my son and realized I did not know him anymore. The boy I raised would never speak to me like this. Something had changed him, or someone had. I looked past Thomas and saw Sarah standing in the hallway with her arms crossed and a small smile on her face. She was enjoying this. She wanted me to feel small and unwanted, and she was winning. I will not beg, I said quietly. I picked up my suitcase and turned toward the street. Mom, Thomas called out, but his voice had no warmth in it. Just go home. We will call you when things settle down. I did not turn around. I walked down that perfect sidewalk past those perfect houses and kept walking until I could not see their home anymore. Then I stood on the corner and cried harder than I had cried in years. A taxi picked me up 20 minutes later. The driver was an older man with kind eyes. He asked where I was going, and I said the nearest hotel. He looked at me in the rearview mirror and said, You okay, miss? I nodded because if I spoke, I would start crying again. The hotel was a budget place near the highway called the Sunset, and though there was no sunset view, just a parking lot and a gas station. The room smelled like cleaning chemicals and old carpet, but I did not care. I sat on the edge of the bed and stared at my phone. Part of me wanted to call Thomas and apologize, even though I had done nothing wrong. Part of me wanted to get on the next plane home and forget this ever happened. Part of me wanted to go back to their house and bang on that door until they let me in. But I did none of those things. Instead, I just sat there in that sad little room and let myself feel everything. The humiliation, the rejection, the heartbreak. I had flown across the country to see my family, and they treated me like I was nothing. Like I was a stranger. Worse than a stranger. At least strangers get basic politeness. My phone was on the bed beside me. It stayed silent. No call from Thomas to apologize. No text asking if I was okay. Nothing. That silence told me everything I needed to know. They did not care. They wanted me gone, and now I was gone, and they were probably celebrating. But then something shifted inside me. It started as a small spark of anger deep in my chest. I had given everything to my son. Everything. I worked myself to the bone so he could have new shoes and school supplies and a college education. I sacrificed my own dreams, my own life, so he could have better. I loved him unconditionally, without reservation, without limits. And this was how he repaid me. By slamming a door in my face. The anger grew. It spread through my body like fire. I stood up and looked at myself in the mirror above the dresser. My eyes were red from crying. My hair was a mess. I looked old and tired and defeated. But beneath that I saw something else. Strength. The same strength that got me through a divorce and single motherhood and 35 years of hard work. That strength was still there. I just had to remember how to use it. I opened my laptop and started searching. First, I typed in "Why would my son turn against me?" The results were full of articles about family estrangement and adult children cutting off parents. Some of the reasons were valid. Abusive parents. Toxic relationships. But others were about manipulation and control. Partners who isolated their spouses from their families. I kept reading. Then I searched grandparent rights. The results shocked me. There were laws that protected grandparents. Ways to petition the court for visitation. I had rights. Legal rights. I did not have to just accept being cut off. Next, I searched parental alienation. Page after page of information. It was a real thing. A documented pattern of behavior where one person systematically turns family members against another person. They use lies and manipulation and emotional abuse. They rewrite history and gaslight their victims. The more I read, the more I recognized Sarah in every description. I found a forum called Alienated Grandparents Unite. Thousands of members. Thousands of stories just like mine. I spent hours reading through posts. Grandmothers who had not seen their grandchildren in years. Grandfathers who were called names and shut out. All of them dealing with controlling daughters-in-law or sons-in-law who wanted complete power over their families. One post stood out. It was from a woman named Joyce. She wrote, "I lost 5 years with my granddaughter because I did not fight back. I believed the lies. I accepted the blame. By the time I realized what was happening, it was almost too late. Do not make my mistake. If you love your grandchildren, fight for them. Fight like your life depends on it, because their childhood depends on it." I read that post 3 times. Fight for them. Those words echoed in my head. I had been so focused on not making waves, on being the good mother-in-law, on respecting boundaries, that I forgot the most important thing. My grandchildren needed me. They needed to know that someone was fighting for them. I pulled out a notebook from my suitcase and started writing. At the top of the page, I wrote evidence. Then I made a list. Every canceled phone call. Every cut short video chat. Every excuse. Every lie. I went through 2 years of text messages and wrote down dates and times. The pattern was undeniable. Gradual isolation. Increasing control. Systematic erasure. By midnight, the notebook was half full. My hand was cramping, but I kept writing. I documented every visit and what Sarah had said or done. The criticisms. The corrections. The way she pulled Emma away from me. The way she controlled every interaction. I wrote about how Thomas had changed. How he had cut off his old friends. How he had become a shadow of himself. When I finally stopped writing, it was 2 a.m. My eyes were burning and my head was pounding, but I felt something I had not felt in months. Purpose. I knew what I had to do. I was going to fight for my grandchildren. And I was not going to stop until I won. The next morning, I woke up with a plan. My head was clearer than it had been in months. I ordered coffee and toast from room service and sat down with my notebook. First, I needed to document everything in detail. Every text message, every email, every phone call where they made excuses or cut me off. I needed proof that this was a pattern, not just isolated incidents. I went through my phone and computer, taking screenshots of conversations going back 2 full years. I created folders on my laptop labeled by month. January 2022, February 2022, March 2022, and so on. In each folder, I saved screenshots of texts, emails, and notes about phone calls. The pattern was even clearer when I saw it all laid out like this. In early 2022, we talked every week. The conversations were warm and friendly. Thomas would tell me about work and the kids. Sarah would sometimes get on the phone and chat about normal things like the weather or what they were having for dinner. But then, around June 2022, things started changing. The phone calls became less frequent. Once a week turned into every other week. Then once a month. The content changed, too. Thomas started using phrases like "we need more space" and Sarah thinks it would be better if. Sarah stopped getting on the phone entirely. By late 2022, the texts were mostly me reaching out and getting short responses. Me asking when I could visit. Them saying not right now. Me suggesting video calls. Them canceling at the last minute. Me asking if everything was okay. Them saying they were just busy. Then 2023 was even worse. The gaps between contacts grew longer. Weeks would pass with no response to my messages. When they did respond, it was always an excuse. Sarah's parents are visiting. The kids are sick. We have plans. Maybe next month. But next month never came. I made detailed notes about every interaction. Who said what? The exact words they used. The tone of their voice when we talked on the phone. The way Sarah always seemed to be listening in the background even when Thomas and I were supposedly having a private conversation. Then I started making phone calls. I called Thomas's old friends from high school. First I called Jake, his best friend from sophomore year. They used to be inseparable. Jake answered on the second ring. Mrs. Walker, he said, sounding surprised. Is everything okay? I am not sure, I said, honestly. When is the last time you talked to Thomas? There was a pause. Honestly, it has been over 2 years. Maybe longer. I tried calling him after I got engaged, but he never called me back. I figured he was busy with work and family stuff. Did you invite him to your wedding? I asked. I did, Jake said. I sent an invitation to their address. Sarah responded for both of them. She said they could not make it because they had a prior commitment. But later I saw on social media that they were home that weekend. I was hurt, but I did not want to cause drama, so I just let it go. I wrote all of this down. Then I called more of Thomas's old friends. His college roommate Marcus. His soccer teammate David. His cousin Peter, who he used to be close with. Every single one of them told me the same story. They had tried to stay in touch. Thomas had pulled away. Sarah had made excuses. Eventually they stopped trying. Next I called our former neighbors from Ohio. The Johnsons, who lived next door for 15 years. Mrs. Johnson answered, and her voice was warm and friendly. Oh honey, how are you? She said. We have not heard from you in so long. I explained what was happening. The distance. The excuses. The way I had been shut out of my grandchildren's lives. Mrs. Johnson was quiet for a moment. I hate to say this, but I am not surprised, she said finally. When Thomas brought Sarah to visit that one time before they got married, I got a strange feeling from her. She was very controlling, very particular about everything. And the way she spoke to Thomas, it was not respectful. It was like she was managing him, not loving him. Would you be willing to write down what you remember? I asked. About the visits. About my relationship with Thomas. Of course, she said. That boy was like a son to me too. I remember when you used to bring him over for cookies after school. You were such a good mother. You did not deserve this. I called the pastor from our old church. Father Mike had known Thomas since he was a baby. He had baptized him and confirmed him and counseled him through difficult times. Father Mike agreed immediately to write a statement about my character and my relationship with my son. I called the mothers of Thomas's childhood friends. I called his elementary school teacher, who had stayed in touch over the years. I called my former coworkers at the nursing home, who had met Thomas many times. Every single person said the same thing. I was a loving, devoted mother. Thomas had been a happy, well-adjusted child. The distance between us was new and unexplained. By the end of day 3, I had statements from 12 people, 12 witnesses who could testify that I was not the problem, that I had been a good mother, that my relationship with Thomas had been strong until Sarah came into the picture. But I needed more. I needed professional help. I needed a lawyer who knew how to fight this kind of battle. On day 3, I found a lawyer in Denver named Patricia Morgan who specialized in grandparent rights. Her office was in a tall building downtown with big windows overlooking the city. She was a woman in her 50s with gray hair and sharp eyes that missed nothing. I told her everything. The sudden distance. The excuses. The door slammed in my face. The way Sarah controlled every interaction. Patricia listened without interrupting. When I finished, she leaned back in her chair and said, "This is textbook parental alienation. Your daughter-in-law has isolated your son from everyone who knew him before her. She has convinced him that you are the problem when really she just wants complete control.
Can I fight this? I asked.
Yes, Patricia said. Colorado has grandparent visitation laws. We can file a petition for court-ordered visits. But you need to be prepared. This will get ugly. Sarah will fight back hard. She will try to paint you as unstable or dangerous. She will twist everything you have ever said or done. I do not care, I said. Those are my grandbabies. I am not giving up on them. Patricia smiled. Then let's get to work. Over the next week, I stayed in Denver gathering evidence. I visited their neighborhood and talked to neighbors who remembered me from my previous visits. I got statements from people who had seen me with Emma and Michael and could testify that I was a loving grandmother. One neighbor named Carol told me something interesting. Sarah does not let those kids out much, she said. They're always inside. I used to see Thomas playing with Emma in the yard, but that stopped about a year ago. Now Sarah watches them like a hawk. I wrote it all down. Meanwhile, my phone was exploding with messages from Thomas and Sarah. At first they were angry. How dare you stay in Denver without telling us? You're stalking us. This is harassment. Then the messages changed. They became sweet and manipulative. Mom, we are sorry for how we acted. We were just stressed. Come over for dinner, and we can talk. I did not respond to any of them. Patricia had told me not to engage. Let them panic, she said. Let them wonder what you are planning. On day 8, Thomas showed up at my hotel. I do not know how he found me, but there he was knocking on my door at 7 in the morning. Mom, please, he said when I opened the door. Can we talk? I let him in because part of me still hoped my real son was in there somewhere underneath whatever Sarah had done to him. He sat on the edge of the bed, looking tired and stressed. I am sorry, he said. I should not have spoken to you like that. Sarah and I have been under a lot of pressure at work and with the kids, and we just need some space. 8 months is not space, Thomas the First said. 8 months is cutting me out of your life. You are being dramatic, he said. We have been busy. That is all. Busy doing what I asked. Busy keeping my grandchildren away from me. Busy letting your wife control every aspect of your life. His face hardened. Do not talk about Sarah like that. Why not, I said. Because she will get mad. Because she will punish you. Thomas, do you even hear yourself? You used to be independent. You used to think for yourself. Now you cannot even have a conversation with your own mother without her permission. That is not true, he said, but his voice was weak. When is the last time you talked to Jake, I asked. Or any of your old friends? When is the last time you made a decision without checking with Sarah first? He opened his mouth, then closed it. He could not answer. She has isolated you, I said gently. She has cut you off from everyone who cares about you. And now she is using my grandchildren as weapons to control you. You do not know what you are talking about, he said, standing up. Sarah loves me. She is protecting our family from toxic people. Toxic people, I repeated. Is that what she calls me? He did not answer. He just walked to the door and said, if you keep this up, Mom, you will never see the kids again. Drop whatever you are planning and come home. We might let you visit at Christmas. Might, I said. You might let me see my own grandchildren at Christmas if I behave.
Do you hear how insane that sounds?
He left without another word. I sat in that hotel room shaking with anger and grief. My son was gone. The boy I raised had been replaced by a stranger who said words like toxic and boundaries like weapons. But I was not giving up. Patricia filed the petition the next day. The court date was set for 6 weeks later. In the meantime, I flew back home to Ohio and waited. The backlash was immediate. Sarah posted on social media about how she was being harassed by a crazy mother-in-law who would not respect boundaries. She did not name me directly, but everyone knew who she meant. My phone filled with messages from people I barely knew telling me I should be ashamed. Thomas sent me long emails explaining all the ways I had failed as a mother and grandmother. According to him, I was controlling, critical, and emotionally abusive. None of it was true, but he believed it because Sarah had convinced him. I saved every message, every email, every social media post. It was all evidence. The hardest part was the waiting. 6 weeks felt like 6 years. I could not sleep. I could not eat. I kept thinking about Emma and Michael and wondering if they missed me. Did they ask about Grandma? Did Sarah tell them I did not love them anymore? The thought made me sick. I joined a support group for alienated grandparents. There were 12 of us meeting every Tuesday night in a church basement. Everyone had similar stories. Adult children who had cut them off. Grandchildren they were not allowed to see. Manipulative daughters-in-law or sons-in-law pulling the strings. One woman named Dorothy had not seen her grandson in 5 years. She won her court case and got visitation rights, but her daughter-in-law moved across the country to avoid it. The system is broken, Dorothy said. Even when you win, you lose. But I had to try. I could not live with myself if I did not fight for Emma and Michael. The court date finally arrived. I flew back to Denver the night before and met with Patricia to go over everything one last time. She was confident but realistic. The judge will see through Sarah's act, she said. But we need to be prepared for anything. The courtroom was smaller than I expected. Thomas and Sarah sat on one side with their lawyer, a sharp woman in an expensive suit. I sat on the other side with Patricia. Sarah was dressed in soft colors, looking innocent and wounded. Thomas would not look at me. The judge was a woman in her 60s with silver hair and tired eyes. She had probably seen 1,000 cases like this. Patricia presented our case first. She showed the documentation of how I had been a loving, present grandmother until Sarah started cutting me off. She presented statements from neighbors and friends. She showed the text messages and emails proving a pattern of manipulation and control. Then Sarah's lawyer stood up. She painted me as an overbearing, critical woman who could not accept that Thomas had his own family now. She claimed I had shown up at their house unannounced multiple times, which was a lie. She said I had criticized Sarah's parenting, which was also a lie. When it was Sarah's turn to testify, she cried. She talked about how hard it was to be a mother and how I made her feel inadequate. She said I had told her she was feeding Michael wrong and disciplining Emma incorrectly. Complete lies, but she was convincing. Thomas testified next. He repeated everything Sarah had said word for word, like he had memorized a script. He talked about how stressed they were and how my surprise visit had violated their boundaries. He never once looked me in the eye. Then it was my turn. I walked to the stand and told the truth. I told the judge about raising Thomas alone, about working night shifts to pay for his college, about being there when Emma was born, about 8 months of excuses and canceled calls. Sarah's lawyer tried to rattle me. She asked if I had a drinking problem, which I did not. She asked if I had mental health issues, which I did not. She tried to make me look unstable, but I stayed calm. When she asked if I had shown up at their house unannounced, I said yes.
Once.
After 8 months of being kept away from my grandchildren, I wanted to see them. That does not make me dangerous. It makes me a grandmother who loves her family. The judge listened to everything. Then she asked Sarah a question. Mrs. Walker, you claim the grandmother is toxic and critical. Can you give me specific examples of things she said or did? Sarah hesitated. She looked at her lawyer, then back at the judge. Well, she has a tone, she said. A judgmental tone. A tone, the judge repeated.
Can you be more specific?
She made me feel bad, Sarah said, her voice rising. Every time she visited, I felt like I was not good enough. Feeling judged and being judged are 2 different things, the judge said. Did she ever say you were a bad mother? Did she ever criticize you directly? Sarah could not answer. She started crying harder, but the judge was not moved. Then the judge turned to Thomas. Mr. Walker, when is the last time you spoke to your mother before this legal action? Thomas shifted uncomfortably. I am not sure. A few months, maybe. According to these records, the judge said, holding up papers, it was 8 months. Your mother tried calling you 15 times during that period. You answered twice, and both calls lasted less than 5 minutes.
Why?
We were busy, Thomas said. Too busy for a 5-minute phone call with your mother, the judge asked. Silence. The judge looked at both of them for a long moment. Then she said, I have been doing this job for 20 years. I have seen genuine cases of toxic grandparents who pose a danger to children. This is not one of those cases. What I see here is a pattern of isolation and control. Mrs. Walker, you have systematically cut your husband off from his family and friends. You have used the children as tools to maintain that control. That ends today. Sarah's face went white. Thomas looked like he had been slapped. The judge ruled in my favor. I was granted visitation rights twice a month, 4 hours each visit with a neutral supervisor for the first 3 months. After that, if everything went well, the supervision would end. Sarah started crying loudly. Her lawyer tried to object, but the judge shut her down. Furthermore, the judge said, "You are both ordered to attend family counseling. This family is broken, and those children deserve better." When the gavel came down, I felt my whole body sag with relief. I had won. It was not everything I wanted, but it was something. It was a chance. Outside the courtroom, Sarah screamed at me. "You are a horrible person," she said. "You will regret this." I looked at her calmly. "The only thing I regret is not fighting sooner." Thomas did not say anything. He just walked away with his head down. The first visit was 2 weeks later at a community center. A woman named Rebecca was the court-appointed supervisor. She was kind and professional. When Thomas's car pulled up, my heart started racing. Emma burst through the door and ran straight to me. "Grandma," she shouted, throwing her arms around my waist. "I missed you so much." "I missed you too, baby," I said, hugging her tight. Tears were streaming down my face, but I did not care. Michael toddled over, more cautious. He was only 3, and 8 months was a long time for him. But when I knelt down and smiled at him, his face lit up. "Gamma," he said, reaching for me. We spent 4 hours playing games, reading books, and just being together. Emma told me all about school and her new friends. Michael showed me how he could count to 10. Every second was precious. Thomas dropped them off and picked them up without saying a word to me. Sarah stayed in the car, both times glaring through the window. Rebecca wrote in her report that the visit went perfectly. The children were happy and comfortable with their grandmother. No concerns. After 3 months, the supervision ended. I was allowed to take the kids to my hotel room or out for lunch. We went to the zoo and the park and the children's museum. Every visit, Emma asked when I was coming back, and every time it broke my heart to say 2 weeks. But something else was happening. Thomas started staying after he dropped the kids off. At first, just for a few minutes, then longer. We would sit in the community center lobby and talk about nothing important. The weather, work, small things. One day he said, "I am sorry, Mom." His voice was quiet, barely above a whisper. I looked at him and saw my son again. The real Thomas underneath all of Sarah's programming. "I know you are," I said. He told me that things at home were bad. Sarah was angry all the time. She blamed him for losing in court. She controlled every aspect of his life, what he ate, who he talked to, where he went. He felt trapped. "You can leave," I said gently. He shook his head. "The kids need stability. The kids need a father who is happy," I said. "Right now they have a father who is miserable." It took 6 more months, but eventually Thomas filed for divorce. Sarah fought it viciously. She tried to get full custody, claiming Thomas was unstable. She tried to turn the kids against him, but the court saw through her act just like before. Thomas got primary custody. Sarah got supervised visitation, just like she had tried to force on me. The irony was not lost on anyone. Now, 2 years later, my life looks completely different. I see Emma and Michael every week, sometimes more. They stay at my apartment in Denver, where I moved to be closer to them. Emma is 8 now and Michael is 5. They call me every night before bed. My apartment is small but cozy. I have 2 bedrooms. Mine is simple with just a bed and a dresser. The second bedroom is for the kids. I painted it yellow because Emma said that was a happy color. There are 2 twin beds with colorful quilts I made myself. The walls are covered with drawings Emma has made for me. Pictures of our family holding hands. Pictures of flowers and butterflies and rainbows. Each one is precious to me. Michael's side of the room has trucks everywhere. Toy trucks on the shelves. Truck posters on the wall. A truck-shaped lamp on the nightstand. He loves trucks more than anything. When he stays over, he lines them all up and makes engine noises while he plays. The sound fills my heart with joy. Friday nights are our special nights. Thomas drops them off around 5, and I have dinner ready. Usually something simple that kids love. Spaghetti with meatballs. Chicken nuggets with French fries. Macaroni and cheese. We eat together at my little kitchen table, and they tell me about their week. Emma talks about school and her friends, and her teacher, Mrs. Henderson, who she loves. She is learning multiplication now, and she is so proud when she gets the problems right. She shows me her homework, and I put gold stars on the pages. Michael talks about preschool, and the blocks he builds, and the songs he learns. He sings them for me in his little voice, and I clap and tell him he is wonderful. After dinner, we have different rituals depending on the night. Sometimes we bake cookies and make a huge mess with flour everywhere. Sometimes we watch a movie cuddled together on my old couch. Sometimes we play board games and Michael cheats, but we let him win anyway because he is still little. Bath time is always an adventure. They splash water everywhere, and I end up soaked, but I do not mind. I wash Emma's curly hair, being careful not to pull the tangles. I let Michael play with his rubber duck collection. There are at least 20 ducks now. Every time we go to the store, he finds a new one. Bedtime is my favorite part. I tuck them both in and read them stories. Emma likes chapter books now. We are reading a series about a girl detective who solves mysteries. Michael likes picture books about animals and trucks. After stories, I sing them the lullabies my mother sang to me. The same ones I sang to Thomas when he was small. The same ones I sang to Emma when she was a baby. Grandma Emma said one night, "Why did you go away for so long?" The question pierced my heart. I sat on the edge of her bed and chose my words carefully. I never wanted to go away, sweetheart. But sometimes grown-ups have disagreements. I could not visit for a while, but I never stopped loving you. Not for one single day. I knew you would come back, she said confidently. I told Michael you would come back.
How did you know? I asked.
Because you promised, she said. When I was little, you promised you would always love me. And promises are forever. I hugged her tight, trying not to cry. Yes, there, baby. Promises are forever. Thomas is rebuilding his life too. He is in therapy twice a week, working through everything Sarah did to him. It is hard work. Some days he calls me, and his voice is heavy with pain.
I did not see it, Mom, he says.
I did not see how she was controlling me. You were in love, I tell him. Love can make us blind sometimes. What matters is that you see it now. He has reconnected with old friends. Jay came to visit last month, and they spent the whole day catching up. It was like no time had passed. They laughed and joked and reminisced about high school. Thomas smiled more that day than I had seen him smile in years. He joined a support group for people who have been in controlling relationships. He does not talk much about what happens in those meetings, but I can see the change in him. He stands up straighter. He makes decisions without second-guessing himself. He is becoming the Thomas the first remember. We do not talk about the court case much. It is too painful for both of us. But sometimes he looks at me with tears in his eyes and says, "Thank you, Mom. Thank you for not giving up on me. I was lost and you found me." Those moments break my heart and heal it at the same time. Sarah moved to another state about 6 months after the divorce was final. She calls the kids once a month as required by the custody agreement. The calls are short and awkward. Emma answers politely, but she does not have much to say. Michael usually just says hi and then wanders off to play. They remember how she used them as weapons. Children are smarter than adults think. They know who loves them and who hurts them. Last week was Emma's 8th birthday. We had a party in my apartment.
Just family.
Thomas and the kids and me. I made her favorite cake. Chocolate with vanilla frosting. We played games and sang happy birthday, and Emma blew out her candles. "What did you wish for?" I asked after she blew them out. "I cannot tell you, or it will not come true," she said. But then she whispered in my ear, "I wish that we could stay like this forever. Just us being happy." My throat tightened with emotion. That is a beautiful wish, sweetheart. After the party, after Thomas took Michael home, Emma asked if she could stay one more night. Just her and me. Thomas said yes. We made popcorn and watched her favorite movie. Halfway through, she looked at me with serious eyes. "Grandma, am I like my mom?" The question startled me. "What do you mean, honey?" "Kids at school say I look like her. But I do not want to be like her. She was mean to you. She was mean to Daddy." I pulled her close. "You are nothing like her, Emma. You have her face, maybe, but you have your own heart. And your heart is kind and loving and good. Do not ever doubt that. She snuggled against me.
I want to be like you, she said.
You are strong and brave. You fought for us. Tears ran down my face, but I smiled. You are already like me in the best ways. The other grandmothers in my support group ask me how I did it, how I won when so many of them lost. We meet every Tuesday night in the church basement. There are 15 of us now. Some are new, still in the early stages of fighting. Others have been battling for years with no resolution. I tell them the truth every time. I did not give up. Even when it was hard, even when everyone told me to walk away, even when my own son turned against me, I kept fighting. Because that is what you do for the people you love. You fight. One woman named Dorothy has not seen her grandchildren in 7 years. She breaks down crying every meeting. They do not even know who I am anymore, she sobs. I am a stranger to them. I hold her hand and tell her to keep trying. As long as there is breath in your body, there is hope. Maybe when they're older, they will seek you out. Maybe one day they will understand what happened, and they will come looking for the grandmother who never stopped loving them. Another woman named Rose won her case last year. She gets supervised visits once a month. It is not enough, but it is something. She shows us pictures of her granddaughter on her phone. Look how big she has gotten, she says, with pride and pain mixed together. I have missed so much. We all understand that pain. The milestones we miss. The birthdays and first days of school and lost teeth and scraped knees. All the little moments that make up a childhood. We have been robbed of those moments by people who use children as weapons. I also tell them this. The system is broken. It should not take lawyers and court orders for grandparents to see their grandchildren. Families should not be torn apart by manipulative people who use love as a tool for control. But until things change, we have to use every tool we have. Document everything. Get witnesses. Find a good lawyer. Join a support group. Take care of your mental health. Do not give up. Some nights I still wake up thinking about that day Thomas closed the door in my face. The shock and pain and humiliation. In my dreams I see it happening over and over. The door closing. Emma's little face disappearing. The sound of my suitcase wheels on their perfect sidewalk. But I do not regret what happened next. That moment of rejection became the moment I found my strength. I learned that love is not always gentle. Sometimes love is fierce. Sometimes love means going to war for the people who matter most. My grandbabies matter most. So I went to war, and I won. If you are reading this and you are going through something similar, please know you are not alone. There are thousands of us grandparents who have been cut off from our families. There are support groups and lawyers and resources. Organizations that can help. Laws that protect grandparent rights in most states. Do not be ashamed. This is not your fault. Manipulative people are experts at making their victims feel crazy. They gaslight and lie and twist reality until you do not know what is true anymore. But you are not crazy. Your love is real. Your pain is valid. Do not blame yourself. You did not cause this. You cannot fix someone else's mental illness or controlling behavior. All you can do is protect yourself and fight for the children who need you. And most importantly, do not give up.
Keep documenting.
Keep fighting. Keep loving those children even from a distance. Because they need you. They need to know that someone fought for them. That someone loved them enough to stand up to the people trying to erase them. Be that someone. I was that someone for Emma and Michael, and I would do it all over again in a heartbeat. The doorbell just rang. It is Thursday, which means the kids are here for our weekly sleepover. I can hear Emma's voice in the hallway asking if we can make cookies tonight. Michael is probably right behind her, dragging his favorite stuffed elephant that he got for his 3rd birthday. This is what victory looks like. Not a courtroom or a judge's ruling, but a grandmother opening her door to the sound of children's laughter. It looks like sticky hands from cookie dough and bedtime stories and whispered "I love yous" in the dark. It looks like second chances and healing and hope. I was told I was not welcome. I left in silence. But I came back louder. And I won. The door swings open, and there they are. Emma with her backpack full of homework and library books. Michael clutching his elephant and grinning with his gap-toothed smile where he lost his first tooth last week. They rush at me, and I open my arms wide. Grandma, they yell together, tackling me with hugs. I missed you guys, I say, squeezing them tight. Did you have a good day at school? Emma launches into a story about her spelling test. Michael shows me a drawing he made of our family. 4 stick figures holding hands under a bright yellow sun. Me, Thomas, Emma, and Michael. A family healing. A family whole. Later that night, after the cookies are baked and eaten, after the baths are done, and pajamas are on, after the stories are read, and the lullabies are sung, I stand in the doorway of their room. Emma is already asleep, her curly hair spread across the pillow. Michael is fighting sleep, his eyes drooping, but he is still clutching his elephant. Gamma, he whispers. You will be here when I wake up, right? I will be here, baby, I promise. I will always be here. He smiles, and his eyes finally close. I watch them both sleep for a long moment. These precious children who I fought so hard for. These babies who fill my life with purpose and joy. In the quiet of the night, I send up a silent prayer of gratitude. For second chances. For strength when I thought I had none left. For the courage to fight when everyone told me to give up. For these moments right here, right now that make everything worth it. Tomorrow morning I will make them pancakes, shaped like Mickey Mouse. Emma will eat 3 and Michael will eat 2 and get syrup all over his face. We will laugh and play and create more memories. We will build the life that was almost stolen from us. But tonight I just stand here and watch them breathe. Safe.
Loved. Mine.
This is everything. Thank you for listening to my story. Please share this with anyone who needs to hear it. Share it with grandparents who are fighting. Share it with anyone who has been cut off from someone they love. And remember, families are worth fighting for. Always. Now, if you will excuse me, I have cookies to bake and grandchildren to spoil. That is what grandmothers do. And I will never take it for granted again.